Hi, third grade. I'm going to teach you guys how to write a narrative writing, which is basically writing a story. So I'm sure when you read a short story or even chapter books, you'll notice that there are always characters and a setting and plot, conflict, and theme. So those are the elements that make the story strong and more fun to read. So we're going to actually use our story chart that we use in class to write a story outline. So let me show you how to do that. So we're going to start with the setting, and setting is the time and place it takes in the story. And I'm actually going to use the story that I used to read when I was little to show you guys an example. So in that story, the setting, the place is going to be in the forest. So that's the bigger setting, bigger place in the forest. But more specifically, it's going to take place in Mr. Fox and Miss Crane's house. So it's going to be happening in the forest, but more specifically, the story will take place in Mr. Fox and Mr. Crane's house. And as you can see in my setting, the characters, I'm only going to have two main characters. Okay, so those characters are Mr. Fox. Mr. Fox is a little greedy. He's a greedy fox. Okay, and he has a long tongue. He has a long tongue. I'm writing a description of how Mr. Fox looks because that's going to be important when I write a story. Okay? So Mr. Fox is a greedy one and he has a long tongue. And now my second character is Miss Crane. Miss Crane. Now Miss Crane is not as greedy as Mr. Fox, I would say. But Miss Crane is, I wouldn't say she's nice either. She is a little mean too. She's not the nicest character. She's a little mean. And something special about it is she has a long beak. So you'll see Mr. Fox has a long tongue, whereas Miss Crane has a long beak. Okay? And a plot. Plot is a one or two sentences summarizing what the story is. So the plot is, in this story, Mr. Fox and Miss Crane have a fight. While eating a meal. So I'm not revealing a whole lot about what my story's gonna be, but I'm just giving you a one summary of what it is about. So it's about Mr. Fox and Miss Crane having a fight while eating a meal. I wonder why they are having a fight. Now the conflict, main conflict. What is going to be the big problem they have in the story? What is the reason they're having a fight in my story? So the conflict is the problem. Okay, so the problem in the story, the big problem, the reason why the story continues is because Mr. Fox and Miss Crane cannot eat food. Okay, so that's the main problem in the story. Mr. Fox and Miss Crane somehow cannot eat food, and that leads to a problem in the story. Okay, why is that? Why can Mr. Fox and Miss Crane can eat the food? It's because of the way food is served. Are you guys curious? Are you guys curious on why the ways the food is served is blocking Mr. Fox and Miss Crane from eating food? Well, if you're curious, that's good because I want you to be curious about this story and want to make you read my story, right? So that's perfect. So I showed you how to write a setting, characters, a plot, and conflict. Perfect. Now we can go to our story chart. It has exposition, rising action, climax, denouement, and conclusion. So exposition is the beginning of the story. How will you start your story? Usually it starts by having a peaceful day. Or you don't have to start with a peaceful day, but that's how the story goes in this one. So it's going to be Mr. Fox and Miss Crane having a great day and in the forest. And you will see exposition is usually when you will introduce the setting where the big picture, the big story, right, is taking place in. So Mr. Fox and Miss Crane having a great day in the forest. Now let's go to the rising action. Something has to happen in the rising action so they will have a big moment of the problem in the climax. So rising action, what will happen after Mr. Fox and Miss Crane having a great day in the forest? Well, Mr. Fox invites Miss Crane to his house. So Mr. Fox invites Miss Crane to his house. Okay. And he serves food on a flat plate. And Miss Crane can't eat. Again, I'm not writing the whole story down, third grade, as you can see. I'm just writing the main thing that's happening. So after they're having a great day in the forest, Mr. Fox invites Miss Crane to his house and he serves food on a flat plate and Miss Crane can't eat. Well, because of her beak is too long, right? And then the climax is where the big thing happens. So Miss Crane invites Mr. Fox over and Fox can eat. And this time, Mr. Fox is the one who cannot eat food. So Miss Crane must have done something so that Mr. Fox cannot eat. Okay? So they start fighting. Ooh, they start fighting each other or something happened. Oh no. So now denouement is something that kind of resolves this big picture so we can go to the conclusion, finishing the story. So denouement is going to be, what will happen after they fight that will resolve it? Let's see. Miss Crane and Mr. Fox. I want a happy ending. Miss Crane and Mr. Fox realize what they did. And apologize. I want a happy ending. I like happy story. So I'll go ahead and write Miss Crane and Mr. Fox realize what they did and apologize to each other. Okay? And now conclusion is what happens in the end of the story. Now it's like finally we're done with the story. So for conclusion, I'm going to say Mr. Fox and Miss Crane joined together to host a party where everyone can enjoy food. Perfect. So that's my happy ending. Okay? So I want to go back and change my character a little bit because I wanted a different ending. So he's greedy, long tongue, and mean and long beak, but I want both of them to still be friends. They're still friends. So that's why I can have a peaceful ending. So let's see if my story chart makes sense. So first I have Mr. Fox and Miss Crane having a great day in the forest. And Mr. Fox invites Miss Crane and he serves food on a flat plate so Miss Crane can eat. because she has long beak. It's not good for eating from a plate. Well, Miss Crane now invites Mr. Fox over, and Fox cannot eat food because Miss Crane serves the food from the bottle. So Fox cannot eat from the bottle. So they start fighting. But they realize what they do and they ask for forgiveness. And that's why they become friends at the end and they have a party where everyone can enjoy food. That's how my story is gonna be. So third grade, when you write a story, make sure your story makes sense in each box. It flows like a story. Don't have random elements in the middle so that your story doesn't make sense, okay? Make sure you go in order: exposition, rising action, climax, denouement, and conclusion. And you gotta make sure that it is school appropriate, none of the violence, none of the gory stuff. So you have to make sure it's appropriate. Okay, and don't try to make it too complicated because it's still a short story. Okay, I'll be very excited to read your story. I cannot wait.